Hey, good morning and welcome to the real estate workshop webinar here. Have you been considering buying a lake home? Well, I can't think of a better spot for you to consider than Apple Valley Lake in Howard, Ohio. And if lake home and lake living is something that you're looking forward to and something that you want to jump into, then this webinar is tailored for you. So let me share my screen here. Okay, buying a lake house boot camp. Buying a lake house, it might be your dream. Maybe you've dreamed of sitting on the deck in the morning, enjoying a cup of coffee as you watch the day wake up. And tell you from personal experience, my most enjoyable part of the day is early morning, especially out on my boat. I roll out on the lake around 5:30, 6 o'clock with a cup of coffee. I get to one of my secret fishing spots, which is another workshop that I'll be doing later. I drop my anchors, throw a couple lines, and just sit back and listen to the day wake up. You start hearing the fish jump and the birds start to sing. You might hear a little rustling in the woods. It's the deer moving around. It doesn't get any more peaceful than that. And I just sit back on the boat and thank God for another wonderful day. So if this is your dream of lake living, don't hesitate to give me a call. My name is Mike Pillow. I'm a realtor with Century21 HomeStar and the 21 Mike team. And you can contact me by phone or text at 740-504-6251 or shoot me an email at mikepillow0707@outlook.com. So what we're going to cover today is the differences between lakefront homes and lake access homes. We're going to go over the Apple Valley property owners' rules and bylaws. We're just going to scratch the surface on those. Talk a little bit about Apple Valley amenities and all the things that Apple Valley offers to its property owners. We're also going to talk about hidden lakefront cost. A lot of people, they have this dream of living on the lake, and there's some hidden costs that you want to be aware of before you take that plunge. I want to answer the question, why Apple Valley? Why choose Apple Valley? There's several lake communities throughout the state, and they each have their own unique highlights, but I want to share with you why I'm very biased towards Apple Valley. And I want to introduce you to your Lakehouse team. It's going to make you successful in purchasing your lake house. Okay, so lakefront versus lake access. What's the difference here? Well, just like the title say, a lakefront home is on the lake. It's directly on the water. Lakefront properties, they're going to enjoy a private shoreline, a private boat dock, but those little treats, I guess you could say, the private shoreline and boat dock, and being directly on the water is going to come at a premium price. Now, what's a lake access home? The best way I can describe it is like my house. I'm lake access. I'm the house across the street. Across the street from me are the lake fronts. I'm a Lakeview home. Um, lake access homes. We share community boat docks at the marina. And to get a boat dock, there is about a 3 to 5 year waiting list. So you may need to launch and land your boat every time you put it in. I'm also going to give you another option for that a little later in the program. Some homes may have a lake view. Some homes may not hardly even be able to smell the lake. And lake access homes are more affordable. And a good approach to that is the further away you get from the lake, the more affordable the homes tend to be. Okay, so Apple Valley property owners, rules and bylaws. A few things you want to be aware of when moving to Apple Valley. If you're building a new home or you are buying an existing home and doing some renovations, you want to make yourself familiar with some of the building restrictions that are unique to Apple Valley. Um, color tones on a home, they need to be an earth tone. The whole idea is for the Apple Valley homes to be nestled in trees. However, there are plenty of homes, and you can see just in this picture that the trees have been eliminated. They had to get approval through the board to get those trees cut down. But there's just some building restrictions that you definitely want to make yourself aware of. Property maintenance. As a property owner, you are responsible keeping your property in good repair. Fresh paint or power wash and siding, lawn maintenance. You want to have a good curb appeal for your neighbors to enjoy. And Apple Valley will let you know if you're allowing your house to get a little bit out of control. Boating and lake restrictions. Apple Valley is a private lake community. Now, the water itself is state water. That means that Apple Valley is fed from Jello Creek, which makes the actual water state waters. However, to access Apple Valley, you must access the lake. You must access the lake by using Apple Valley property. One of the 3 boat launches, even launching a kayak from a beach. You have to enter Apple Valley property to get onto the lake. Therefore, we can't control who gets on the lake. So your boat owner, you have to have your boat registered with Apple Valley every year. We get a new sticker. They're color coded for years. This year is red. There are some limitations on boat size. A power boat, such as a speedboat or fishing boat, can't exceed 21 feet. Pontoon. This is kind of a touchy situation that we'll get into later. There has been a change to the size of a pontoon allowed on Apple Valley. And I'm doing some research on it to find out if it's actually gone through the board and for approval. It used to be 28 foot with unlimited horsepower. Now it's been reduced to, I believe, 25 feet, which is going to reduce the horsepower because that size boat, I think it's 300 is the largest you put on now. But again, I need to follow up and get specifics on that. But like I mentioned, there is an unlimited horsepower on this lake. That doesn't mean you want to bring out a cigarette boat. Well, first of all, you couldn't bring out a cigarette boat because they are too long and too fast. This lake is only 3.5 miles long, 511 acres. I've always told people the bigger the engine, the smaller the lake. So anyway, that's a whole nother workshop in its entirety there, the boating and lake restrictions. Sign restrictions. Like any community, you can post political signs, but you have to adhere to the rules with the political signs. They have to come down shortly after the election. You can't put any advertising out. And real estate signs, They are not to be out on the road like you see in most communities. Apple Valley rules dictate that real estate signs must be parallel with the street or roadway and not be more than 12 feet away from the house. And any vacant lot for sale, a real estate agent can't stick a sign in that yard. So we get a lot of agents from out of town coming here and they don't understand the rules. And I'm sure the board is calling them or the compliance officer is calling them and they have to come out there and move their signs. All right. Beach, pool, boat access. There are all gates. Each of these where you have to have a property owner's card and you pay a $15 fee a year to access, you know, all these amenities. This prevents somebody from coming from another community with their boat and enjoying the beach or the lakes. Okay, Floral Valley in the clubhouse. Floral Valley is a community center. It has a indoor Olympic-sized swimming pool, 3 indoor pickleball courts. They just built new pickleball courts outside. There's a dog park, really nice dog park. It has 2 divisions in this dog park for, you know, you have smaller dogs. You can put them in a smaller area where they're not around the bigger dogs. I mean, it's a great dog park. And the clubhouse, that's where the outdoor pool is. And the outdoor pool is only about 5 years old. We just had a new outdoor pool put in. It's super nice. It's where the fitness center is. And both of these facilities can be rented out by property owners for like wedding receptions, graduation parties, family reunions. And it's a very cheap price to rent these facilities out. And it comes with all the tables and chairs. The club, both places have kitchens that you can use, so they're great for big gatherings. Boat fees, like I mentioned, you have to pay to get your yearly sticker, and I've already mentioned about the ID, passcode fees, and quiet time. We do have a quiet time in Apple Valley. You got to remember, we have a lot of non-occupied owners here that come, they're second homes, second, third homes for people. And they come on the weekends and through the summer, the weekends become very busy, very congested. And there's a lot of barbecues and parties going on. But at 11 o'clock, the music needs to be turned down. Yeah, the hooting and hollering, fireworks, it stops from 11 to 8 o'clock in the morning. That means I can't get up at 6 in the morning and decide to mow my yard. I mean, that's just common sense. You know, I'm sure my neighbors would really enjoy me mowing my yard at 6 in the morning, but for some people, they need to be told. Then the governing body of Apple Valley consists of a general manager and a board that runs the lake. I mean, there's several clubs that people can enjoy. There's a fish club, the garden club, social club. There's just all kinds of clubs. So there's so many activities for people to do here. So let's move on here. Lakefront costs. I told you there's some hidden costs. Well, of course, as I mentioned earlier, lakefronts are going to come at a higher price. I can tell you the 2 homes in this picture, the blue home and the tan home that is a ranch. The blue home sold about 1.7, and a smaller home was just over $1 million. That gives you an idea of the differences of a lakefront home versus a lake access home. You're not going to be paying $1 million for my house across the street from this one. And along with the higher purchase price, going to come higher taxes. You're paying for that waterfront, and look at the square footage of that home. So taxes are considerably higher than lake access. And one thing that a lot of people don't take into account is higher insurance costs. Even though our lake our lake is controlled by the general manager and the board as far as the depth, and by opening up the dam and allowing some of the water out. If we have heavy rains, we can allow some of that water out. It goes downstream into Gokosing, Wahunting, and Mohawk rivers. But if we have days upon days upon days with heavy rains, we can't release all that water, or we're going to be flooding communities downstream. So, although I have not heard of any recorded instances where any homes have been flooded by the lake, and the lake was established in 1970, and I've never heard of any of these homes being flooded by the lake, you still have to carry the insurance, because if something were to happen and you do get floodwaters, you want to be covered, especially on a home at that price. Not to mention, being on the lake, there's some risk there too. So, of course, insurance premiums are higher. And then the property owner on the lake is responsible for maintaining their seawall and dock cost. Now, obviously, a dock and a boathouse, that's optional, whether you want to build a boathouse or not. But the property owner is required to maintain a seawall, and that's just to protect the shorelines of Apple Valley. And this work can only be done during the winter. That is what Apple Valley does on November 15th. They lower this lake anywhere from 10 to 15 feet. And what that does, it exposes all the boathouses for a couple of reasons. One, people can do maintenance or build a boathouse, tear down and replace a dock or boathouse. But it also prevents the damage from ice, because as the winter starts to fade into spring and the lake starts to thaw, we don't want chunks of ice going across the lake. It could split a 8x8 like a toothpick. So that, we lower the lake for that. And that's part of the reason why Apple Valley is considered by the EPA the cleanest lake in Ohio, because we replenish that I couldn't tell you how many gallons of water, but we replenish quite a bit of water in this lake every year. Plus, Apple Valley has public water and public sewer. So no sewage is going into this lake. It's all county sewage. And then the depth of this lake, this area right here you're looking at, it's only about 7 to 10 feet. But as you get to the south end of the lake, I've recorded on my depth finder as deep as 71 feet. In front of the dam, it's about 55, 60 feet deep. So this is a very deep lake. And we replenish the water every year. Not all the water, but a good percentage of it. And no sewage. It contributes to this being such a clean lake. Okay, top 3 reasons to choose Apple Valley. Well, Apple Valley is affordable. And, like I said, not for all of us, a lakefront would be affordable. But there's several homes in Apple Valley that are very affordable. And comparatively speaking, if you would compare the property tax and the home prices to some of the larger cities, such as the north side of Columbus, New Albany, Delaware, Powell, Westerville, or parts of Cleveland, Akron, Apple Valley is much, much cheaper, especially with the taxes. And I worked in Columbus for years. I wouldn't trade anything in Apple Valley for the nicest home in Columbus. But that's just my personal opinion. Okay, number two, Apple Valley is a beautiful area. And like I mentioned before, it is a private lake. Apple Valley offers gorgeous landscaping and it's tucked away in a rural setting. And like I mentioned before, to access the lake or any of the amenities that Apple Valley has to offer, you must be a property owner in good standing, meaning that you have your assessments paid up to date. Oops. And family. Apple Valley serves as an ideal community to raise your family. There are so many activities that you could enjoy with your kids, or you as an adult, or you as a senior citizen. There's so many activities that appeal to so many age groups. There's, I don't know if you've guessed this or not, but there are all kinds of water sports you can do in Apple Valley: fishing, skiing, tubing, um, swimming. I mean, and being such a clean lake, you don't have to worry about your children getting in this lake, getting ear infections and getting sick. I mean, there's the lake itself is just, there's so many things you can do, even in the wintertime. If it gets cold enough, I see a lot of people out there ice fishing and even saw snowmobiles out there from time to time. But like I mentioned, you have the clubhouse and Flora Valley community centers where you have an indoor and outdoor pool. There's game rooms at Flora Valley with pool tables and ping pong tables, and a fitness facility over at the clubhouse. And I mentioned earlier, there's several different clubs associated with Apple Valley. You have the East Knox Lions, um, the social club, which is responsible for a lot of the social events that take place here in Apple Valley, like the fireworks, the cruise in. The cruise in is where you have just about every boat out here tying up together on the 4th of July weekend, watching bands on boat docks. Um, we have a boat parade. My wife Nancy and I participated in that this year. That was a good time. We just decorated our boats. This year's theme was Christmas in July. And we just go on a big line and travel the shoreline of Apple Valley, and people are out on their docks and decks cheering us on. It is a pretty good time. Anyway, there's, like I said, there's so many reasons to choose Apple Valley, and amenities are, there's so many to choose from. So we want to talk about your key team members. If you're looking to purchase a lake home or any home for that matter, one of your key members, team members, has to be your lender, and you need to get a pre-approval letter, or if you're paying cash, obtain a letter from your bank showing that you have proof of funds that you're going to pay cash. But it's so important that you have a pre-approval letter, and do not get confused with pre-qualified. If you think about this, everybody's pre-qualified. Anybody is qualified to go buy a house. Even my dog, he's pre-qualified. What sellers are looking for is your pre-approval letter, that you've actually sat down with your lender. Your lender has gone through your income, your debts, and your credit history, and you've been approved for a certain amount. Good way to remember this, especially if you're looking for a lake home in Apple Valley. A for Apple, A for approve. So make sure you get your approval letter. And then one of your key team members is going to be the 21 Mike Team admin staff. Oh my gosh, I cannot tell you enough about these ladies. They do a fabulous job for all of us agents. There's nearly 50 agents on our team, and they handle all of our transactions from Northeast Ohio all the way down to Columbus. And this staff is put in place to make sure that none of us agents make a mistake with your paperwork, that they're the ones who take the transaction and they smooth out everything, so it's just a flawless transaction for you. So once we get your house listed or we put in an offer, you're going to start hearing from our transaction experts. That's Michelle, Liz, Isabel. So we all really lean on those ladies. They're awesome. And of course, your number one key team member is your real estate agent. And I know a good one. He's right there on the screen, me. You want somebody who knows the area. I grew up in by Mount Vernon. I can remember as a kid coming out here fishing Apple Valley with my dad and his little fishing boat. And you could almost go around the lake and count the number of houses out here. My wife and we've lived here for almost 30 years. I know this area intimately, and there's a lot of things that I can share with you that maybe your friend or relative who lives in Cleveland, who's an agent, doesn't know about Apple Valley. When you go with an agent like myself that's familiar with the area, knows the people, knows the homes, puts you in a much better position of getting the home that's going to meet your criteria, but more importantly, gives you a negotiating edge. So your real estate agent is key in this process. So if you want to meet your real estate agent, Mike Pillow, just scan my QR code there, and it will take you to a short video introduction. I'll tell you a little bit about me. Again, my name is Mike Pillow. I'm with the Century21 HomeStar and the 21 Mike team. And you can contact me by phone or text at 740-504-6251 or shoot me an email at mikepillow0707@outlook.com. And finally, before wrapping this up, I cannot wrap up any webinar without hearing from my 21 Mike team. And that's our K9 division with our CEO Bentley there on the right. We want to take time to thank you and remind you that you're not the only one looking for a home. Please go to your local dog shelter and adopt your next new best friend. So thank you for sharing this time with me today, and I look forward to seeing you again next Tuesday at 10 o'clock. Watch Facebook for my videos and postings for what we're going to be covering next week. Have a nice day, and God bless.